Hello, and welcome to another segment of Fine Arts Features, the program that highlights members of the faculty and staff of the College of Fine Arts here at Wichita State University. Today, we have a conversation with Justin Warbaugh. Justin has served in many roles during his tenure at Wichita State, starting in the college as the Grants Development Specialist and working his way upward to become the founding director of the School of Digital Arts, the newest school in the College of Fine Arts. Along the way, he has also served and/or continues to serve as the director of Shocker Studios and the director of the Fine Arts Institute. Justin has a Bachelor of Music Education from Chadron State University and 2 masters, one from WSU in Educational Psychology and another in Educational Leadership from the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. He has received numerous awards and recognition while at WSU, most notably being an Innovation Award for his work with Shocker Studios and the Bachelor of Applied Arts, which he oversees in the School of Digital Arts. Without further ado, I give you Justin Warbaugh. Hello and welcome to another edition of interviews with faculty and staff from the College of Fine Arts. We are privileged to interview someone today who has been both faculty and staff. Justin Warbaugh is the director of the School of Digital Arts. This is the newest of the 4 schools in the College of Fine Arts. And it's not very old at all, and I'm going to let him explain all of that. But first, let's talk a little bit about you, Justin. Who is Justin Warbaugh? In a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes, give us your life story. Tell us who you are.
Okay. So I'm a real simple person, originally from Wyoming. I was born and raised in Wyoming. Was one of those kids that grew up waking up every morning at 5:30 so we could make sure that the animals were fed and chores were done, and then would go to the school for marching band practice early in the morning. After school, would go to work sacking groceries, and my very first job actually was trimming and shaping Christmas trees. I was 14 years old and was handed leg pads and a machete and a hook and shown how to shape Christmas trees. And so that was how I got my introduction to the working world. And being involved in music, I had a band director tell my mom that if I would choose to play the tuba, I could write myself a ticket to any college I wanted to go to. And so in the 5th grade, my mom decided for me that I was going to be a tuba player. And I'm like, okay, I'm the tuba player then. And so I played the tuba through high school and sang in show choir and did school plays and was a part of musicals and was involved with athletics and was really busy and worked an afternoon job and just kind of kept busy and hadn't really thought much about college. And then I went to a music festival and auditioned there and ended up sitting, was the first chair tuba at the Rocky Mountain Wind Festival that happened at the University of Wyoming. And during the intermission for the concert, I had a gentleman come up to me and said, are you planning on going to college? I said, well, I've kind of looked at it. I hadn't really thought much about it yet. I just wasn't a priority. I was so busy doing everything else. And he said, if you come to school for me, I'll give you a full ride. And that opened my door to going to college. And that band director that had told my mom all those years ago that if I played the tuba, I could go to college wherever I wanted, came true. And so I went to Casper College and started playing the tuba for the college, and then played in the summer municipal band, and then went and studied with Bill Winkle at Chadron State. And at the
Very
time,
fine reputation, by the way.
Pardon?
very fine reputation, by the way. He's known throughout the state and the region.
Bill Winkle's a phenomenal tuba player and instructor, and he was my mentor, and we had a good time playing many tuba Christmases together and those things. And when I was going to school, we had two options. If you were a music major, you were going to go into performance or you're going to go into education. And the appeal of being a tuba player in an orchestra was not there for me, because I actually wanted to play if I was going to play, and that didn't happen. It's often
the word tacit comes to mind, doesn't it?
It does. Yes, it does. So I went into education and moved to Kansas to my mother's chagrin to teach school. She's like, you just had to pick somewhere far away from home. And I said, I found a great job and I had to go.
Yeah.
And so I started out as the band director and taught 7 through 12 band and choir. I was an assistant football coach. I was a head boys and girls track coach for the middle school. And then I was in charge of the all-school play, which I said, since I'm the music teacher, we're going to do a musical. And then I ran the summer paint crew for the school. So in the summer, I would paint classrooms. And so very quickly, I got burnt out on teaching in the public schools because I was doing way too many jobs for one person. But I was fortunate. I built a very successful band program in just a couple short years. We had a school where we had about 160 kids in the high school and 100 kids in the middle school. And so between that 250, I had 150 in my music program.
Wow.
And so that was how I started out in the world and how I started out in the arts, really. And so then several unfortunate events that happened while I was a teacher. We had a bomb threat. We had some horrible things happen in my first couple of years of teaching. And I said, this really isn't what I wanted to do. I love the arts, but it wasn't cutting it for me. And so I believe it was in my third year, was with my band at the Cotton Bowl down in Texas. And I said to my principal, I said, I'm letting you know now that I'm going to resign. I'm not coming back. I wasn't finding that fulfillment that I was looking for. And so that's what brought me to Wichita. I left there and I came to Wichita, and I ran a program for mentally ill juvenile offenders for about 5 years. And that helped me figure out that I wanted to get back into education. I wanted to get back to being in the fine arts. And the opportunity came open at Wichita State. They were looking for a grant development specialist in the College of Fine Arts. I had worked under a grant with the Juvenile Justice Department and was very familiar with the grant world and had written several grants at that time and saw an opportunity to get back into the fine arts. And so that's what brought me to Wichita State, to the College of Fine Arts. And that was back in 2007. And I've been here ever since and gone through several different iterations of what my role is for several years. I worked in the dean's office prior to coming down to Shocker Studios and really getting the School of Digital Arts up and running and going.
Yeah. And somewhere in there, you got your master's degree in educational psychology, right? So,
as I was at the time when I was working in with the mentally ill juvenile offenders, working in mental health, I said, I want to do something more. And since I had the background in education, I was working with mental health, I looked at educational psychology. And so I had started that program and was on my way to becoming a qualified mental health professional when I took the job at WSU. And it just was a segue. And so I was just about finished with that degree when I started at WSU. In fact, I graduated that December, started in November and graduated in December. And after that 3-year encouragement, I went on working on PhD work and worked with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And I completed all of my coursework. and started on my dissertation, and I had my first 3 chapters written on my dissertation, and the opportunity to do Shocker Studios and everything came up, and my dissertation advisor said, you know what, let's rethink what you're doing here with the dissertation. We want to pivot. He goes, what you've done is worthwhile and it's great, but I don't think, I think we need to rethink it. And at that point I said, wow, I really was faced with a decision. Do I completely redo these first 3 chapters of this dissertation and pass up this opportunity to start this new program in this school, or do I take that leap and push forward with something that I was excited to step into? And I chose to step forward with that. And so right now I'm, and will probably forever be ABD, but I did receive a second master's degree from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in higher ed administration and leadership. And so we'll see how things play out here over the next few years. I may end up completing a PhD in leadership or something else, but right now my focus has been really on the school.
Sure. Yeah. And just full disclosure, you have done a heck of a job as first of all, as the director of Shocker Studios, which was renamed, and then becoming the director of the program for the Bachelor of Applied Arts in Media Arts, and then becoming the director of School of Digital Arts. So why don't you take us through, I mean, we could spend 2 hours going through the whole sojourn of how you and I remember almost from the time you started in my office, we would go down to taste and see and eat lunch. And so just go through that whole sojourn, that whole journey, how Mindfire became Shocker Studios, which became the School of Digital Arts.
Sure. So what happened was, being hired as a grant development specialist, I was always on the lookout for different things that we could do to help bring what we were doing in the arts more in line with what was going on in the 21st century, and how could we bring different grant opportunities into the college. And so one of the avenues that I found was with Mindfire Academy, which is located here at the old Wichita Mall on South Harry Street. And what would happen is, I was friends with the chef at Taste and See, and so I'd come down to Taste and See, meet with him, and then I was also friends with the team that was overbuilding the spaces in what became Mindfire and is now Shocker Studios. And so I'd be down eating lunch, and someone would say, "Hey, come look at this new studio we've put together. Come see what we're doing in these recording studios. We're thinking of putting the space like this." And you know, they were wanting to show me all the things they were doing, as we were having conversations about, okay, how can we get the students at Wichita State involved in what you're doing here? How can we bring these two programs together and make something happen? And so we started looking at ways that we could do that through the Fine Arts Institute, and whether that was going to be some video game camps or whatever the case might be. And then along the way, we started looking at how the entire College of Fine Arts was working towards creating kind of an ideas lab, and how could we move what we were doing with the college in a new direction. And in that process, the Max Cole, who owns the old Wichita Mall and therefore also the Mindfire Academy, was a part of the conversation with that. And he said, you know, what you guys are trying to do, we've built that down here. We've got this space. It's not thriving. We're struggling to get anything happening here. Why don't you guys just come take this space over and do what you're talking about down here? And so we really started to look at our options of what that would look like. And that was how we ended up giving birth to the Bachelor of Applied Arts and Media Arts. And there was really a team of faculty that got together. They were tasked in a very short window to create a curriculum that will fit this. And when I started thinking about how we could do things curricularly, but also outside of the curriculum, how could we work with partners regionally, locally, and even nationally in creating digital and media content that we could push out. And so as things progressed, it ended up that we agreed with Max and we took over the space and brought the program in, and really did so with the hope of trying to at least match how many students that the previous institution had here. And so that was kind of how we built our numbers. We hadn't done this before, so we were taking a shot in the dark.
I remember you and I working on a model of possibly, if we really were energetic and diligent, we would get, after a period of, I think, what was it, 4 years or 5 years, as many as 50 majors.
Yeah, I think by our goal was by the end of year 3 to have as many as 65 majors, and those weren't, I think it was 65 students. I think it was 50 majors and then 15 people that were at least minoring or working towards a certificate.
Yeah.
And so the 3-year goal was that, and we're here at year 3.5 now.
Yeah.
And I think our enrollment when we get to spring is going to be closer to 340, 350.
Just to put it in a nutshell, if the pandemic had not hit, we would be at 400 students.
Yeah. And I want to say, even with the pandemic, we had a 24% increase in enrollment or something like that. It was astronomical. And the numbers I'm looking at right now show that even though we're still in the middle of a pandemic, our enrollment numbers are increasing again for spring semester. So a lot of traditional programs, you'll see they'll have an enrollment in the fall, and then they might tick down in the spring. You'll see some attrition that happens. We've not experienced that with this program. What we've seen is the fall semester, we've got a solid enrollment, and then spring it goes up.
So tell those who are listening what makes the Bachelor of Applied Arts such a unique degree, and talk about the various majors or concentrations.
So I think probably the most unique thing about the Bachelor of Applied Arts is that you do not see this type of degree in the United States. It is very uncommon. If you're going to see a Bachelor of Applied Arts, they're typically going to be found in the Commonwealth nations, Canada, New Zealand, places like that. The Bachelor of Applied Arts is the arts version of a Bachelor of Applied Science. And the key is having the applied in the name. What we do is so very hands-on. And so the industries that we focus on, our degree has currently 5 concentrations with a 6th that's in the approval process. Those include animation, game design, filmmaking, audio production, collaborative design, which is kind of an amalgam of everything that we do. And then our degree that's in the approval process is acting for the digital arts, which will include things as acting for TV and for the screen, and stunt work and motion capture and voice acting, all of those things that really help us to more fully round out what it is we do in those industries. And so the applied component of that is that not only are students learning the theory and the practice of these skills, they're applying those in their work. Wichita State's really big on wanting every student to have an applied learning experience. This program is applied learning from day one. Students have the opportunity to be hands-on in a recording studio, to be hands-on in a film studio, to put on a motion capture suit with all the dots, and to do motion tracking to create characters. We have students that work directly with industry partners. Today, we have a shoot going on in the film studio. We have 4 current students and a graduate student. He's not a graduate student, he's a student that graduated from the program, working in that production with a production company that does work with the Discovery Channel, with Food Network, with Netflix, it's big time work. And so we're getting our students, through the applied nature of our program, get to be very hands-on in learning their craft. And so not only do they learn how to do their craft, they actually perform their craft while they're a student. And so the big thing that makes our program stand out is that students walk out of here with this piece of paper, this degree, but they also have the opportunity to walk out of here with a resume that has significant work experience built into it from the projects that they've been a part of while they're in the program.
So we promised them not only a degree, but a resume.
We provide them the opportunity. We promise them the opportunity. And it's one of those things we have a call board down our hall where there are different opportunities are posted up. And it's everything from working with significant companies like Deloitte or Spirit Aerosystems or Textron, to working with mom and pop stores, barber shops, and startup companies and different things of that nature. We give them the opportunity. It's up to the student to grab those opportunities and take off and run. And so I think of a student that just graduated who took advantage of those opportunities. He did video work for Deloitte. He did video work for the Miss America pageants. He jumped in and did a time-lapse video of hair extensions being applied in a beauty salon. And his first job out of college with his undergrad is with Textron Aviation. He's their multimedia content specialist. And he walked into a position that people that do not have the type of degree that we offer, it's not an entry from graduation. It's an entry from 5 to 10 years experience in the field. But since this student came through our program and got that field experience while he was here, he was able to enter the job market at a far different place than what he would if he didn't have that applied experience.
One of my favorite stories, I guess, or anecdotes or whatever, is the relationship that you've had with the businessman from Texas, who I think was originally from Kansas, who sells popcorn to movie theaters. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that just as an example of only one of the opportunities that your students have.
Sure. We got a call from this gentleman. He said, hey, can I come in for a meeting? I want to talk to you about popcorn. I'm like, okay, sure. Let's talk popcorn. And so he came in and he owns a company that's called Sonic Boom Pop, or Sonic Equipment. And one part of Sonic Equipment is they provide the popcorn to movie theaters that they pop in their theaters. And so what he wanted, he said, I have visions of this character that flies in this bomber that flies over the cornfields in this made up universe, this parallel universe. And when this jet flies over, all the popcorn pops and it just starts exploding everywhere. And he goes, could you make something like that? And so what we did, I said, yeah, let's first he wanted this character created. So we went to one of our students, said, could you create this character? And she said, well, yeah. She goes, I have some ideas for that. And in the process, she showed him, here's a character I've already created. Here's an idea. Here's some concept art. This is what I'm thinking. He's like, wow. He said, this character you've already created, I absolutely love this. Can I buy this? Can I buy the rights to this? Can this be one of our characters? And so he purchased the rights to her work and then commissioned her and hired her to produce this new character that would fly in this plane. And from there, it turned into, okay, this is really great. Now, how do we make this into a commercial? And so he hired more students from here to work under the supervision of the first student that he hired. And in the process, she graduated. And so she became an independent contractor for him. And then she hired students from here and they completed a commercial. And this commercial, once the pandemic's over and COVID kind of lifts from us and we're able to go back into the movie theaters, this would be one of those commercials that plays in the opening credits. And what happens is there's a jet that flies through this town and all this popcorn pops and it's this animated piece. And then it comes, all of a sudden this plane breaks through the barrier and it's flying through the movie theater. And so it's got live footage of people sitting in a movie theater and this plane coming through. And it's, it takes me back to the days of the drive-in theater where it's, oh, you got to go get your snacks and the popcorn dances and the Coke dances. And it has that feel to it. And so the cool thing about it is those students worked on that. And now that piece of media that they created will play in movie theaters all over the country. Yeah. And so when he came in to ask us to create the actual video of that, he said, oh, and I've got some popcorn for you. And so we thought, oh, hey, he's bringing popcorn to the meeting. And what he brought in was a 40-pound bag of popcorn kernels ready to pop. And these are the bags that he sends to movie theaters. On that bag were the characters that our students had created. They'd already gone into production, and that is what goes on the bags when they're shipped to movie theaters all over the country.
That's a great story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So many of the students that come into your program, they don't understand and appreciate just how expansive animation or design or filmmaking can be or will be. Like your animation students, they all think they're going to graduate and try to get a job at one of the big Hollywood, like Pixar or whatever. But instead, there's tons and tons of opportunities for them at a national, regional, local level for things just like what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that play out with local companies all the time. And they call us and they say, we don't have anybody that can do what you do. Can we work with your students? Can we create an internship? Which is great. But then those internships go away because they love our students and they hire them and they create these positions in their companies. And that's really what it's about, is getting our students those opportunities to take the skills that they learn and understand that those translate to so many different things, and not just they don't have to pigeonhole into one area. They're highly translatable and can work across multiple industries. And I think once that realization hits our students and the doors open, the floodgates open, and they look at what all is available, they really have to then say, wow, I really want to work at Pixar, but I can do all this stuff while I'm working towards that type of job. And so that doesn't mean that, it's just like athletics. Oh, I want to be a professional football player. Well, a certain number go on to college, and then a certain number go on to play in the NFL. And that's a very small percentage. Well, this industry is the same way in all these industries. The difference being the entertainment industry, the stuff that we create in these fields are so highly translatable that you can go and work for any type of company creating content. And I think that's a big part of what's happening with digital transformation across our entire society, is it's created, there's a new digital economy that is emerging that our students are able to be tapping into from the go.
I think the point I was trying to make earlier and didn't really articulate is that so many of the students and people from the outside looking in think of animation or game design or whatever as being something for the entertainment industry, when in actuality, these digital entities are permeating all of society. One of my favorite examples is the one where the students worked on was it the Spirit, where they did an animation of a particular manufacturing process?
Yeah, we've actually done a series of 8 different animation videos now for Spirit that are of different automation processes in their automated factory. And we've also then, people think about VR as a gaming concept. We've created VR experiences, taking that same factory automation concept and putting it in a virtual reality environment so that someone can put on a headset and actually see that automation pipeline in process.
I have another question for you that I think you have just spent the last few minutes answering, and that is, what drives you to get out of bed every morning?
I like having indoor plumbing. So I
Okay.
get up so I can get a paycheck. I come to work. What drives me is seeing the success and the opportunity and the things that come from the imagination and the creativity that I get to be a part of every day. We have so many things around us in our environment here that become parts of projects, and whether that's a set piece or here we want to incorporate this into a video game. There are no 2 days that are the same. I've had days where I've been here and I have been hanging lights for a production for Netflix. And then I've had days where I'm here laying on the floor under a desk, connecting a computer. No 2 days are the same.
Yeah.
And it all takes creative troubleshooting, because the cool thing about this industry, and this really is, it's what gets you up in the morning, is that there are going to be problems that are going to come your way every day.
Yeah.
And we get to solve those problems. We get to find answers in creative ways.
We have a motto in the college: we change the world by changing the lives of our students. And I can't think of a better example than what you have just articulated, that these students have done. They literally have turned around. I mean, they are different walking out of your program than they were walking into your program.
Yeah.
But even before they are through with the program, they're already making an impact that is national in scope in many instances.
Yeah, and one of the things that we tell our students from the very first class they walk into, you need to stop referring to yourself as a student filmmaker or as a student game designer. No, you are a filmmaker, you are a game designer, you are an animator, you're whatever it is you're training to be, you're there. You're just developing your skills to be better at that. And we want them to believe from the beginning, yes, we're helping you learn these skills and to train you in the things that are going to make you better at what you do. But if you're already passionate for it, that's what you are. You might be a junior level. You might be very young at this. You might not know everything you need to know to make it happen, but you need to start thinking of yourself in that fashion, to where today you're a filmmaker, you're an animator, you're whatever the case may be. If this is what you want to go into, you need to start thinking of yourself in that way and start thinking about this process as, I'm getting better at what I already am.
Yeah,
and that's
a wonderful way to look at it.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears a little bit, talk a little bit more about you.
Okay.
Who is the wisest person you know, and why?
So this is something that I've thought so much about, and it comes up, and I find myself thinking about this from time to time, and it changes for me. And what I find probably most telling about this is how I interpret wisdom. And so for me, I think some of the wisest information I get comes from my children. And I think that wisdom is born out of certain amount of innocence and being naive. But there's a wisdom in calling things how they see them. And so I learned so much from my own children in the way that they view the world and the lens they view the world. And right now, we're living through a historical time unlike any I could have imagined. And to hear the wisdom that comes out of my children's mouths and the way they think about these things has truly made me stop and think that sometimes we make things way too complicated. Sometimes we give things too much stock and value and credit. And if we could stop back and look at things through the eyes of a child, it makes things a whole lot easier and makes things make a whole lot more sense. And I know that's overly simplistic, but I think the wisdom that I see in the innocence of my children is probably, that's one of the things I keep coming back to.
Sometimes the word that comes to mind is humbling.
Yeah. I think so. And I think of the people, the mentors I've had along the way, the Rodney Millers, the Bill Winkles. There's certainly something to be said for the wisdom that comes with the wisdom of industry and the wisdom of field. And, when I look at the wisdom of being a tuba player, Bill Winkle, he's the guy, him, Harvey Phillips, that's it. If you want to be a tuba player, those are the guys.
Was he a Harvey Phillips student?
They were friends. They co-authored books. They did a lot together. And I don't know that he studied with
Harvey.
I don't know if he studied with Harvey or not. I don't recall, but
yeah. For those who don't know, Harvey Phillips was for decades, the tuba instructor at Indiana University, and he is the one who originated the Santa Claus at Christmas tuba serenading.
Yeah. Merry Tuba Christmas.
Merry Tuba Christmas. That's right.
And, if I think about the wisdom of what I learned in the music industry and what I've learned to be a teacher and an instructor, I think of Bill Winkle. But then when I think about the wisdom of administration, I look to Rodney, and I look to the colleagues around me. I look at Alex Sternfeld Dunn, and I look at Linda Starkey, and I look at these people that I work with, and I look for the wisdom in their experience and understanding, knowing that there's no one thing that I'm an expert in.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about anything.
Well, that's a nice segue into the next question that I'm going to ask you, which in your case is probably a dangerous question to ask. But if you could learn to do anything, what would it be? And I ask that of someone that I have personally observed learning time after time after time after time after time, something that they knew absolutely nothing about, learning from it from the ground up and becoming a master of it. So having said that, if you could learn anything, what would it be?
So once upon a time, I started playing the guitar as being a music major. And if I could find the time to learn to be a better guitar player, that would be something personally that I would love to be able to pull out the guitar and sit down and play the guitar and kind of take my mind away and just enjoy that experience. I don't know if that was what you were expecting, but I think
no, I wasn't sure what I was expecting.
I think to learn to play the guitar better would be something that I personally would take great enjoyment in that. I've learned so many things in my life from I've helped build race cars. I've done cabinetry. I've learned to do so many different things because I've been exposed to so many different things. And I think we always are learning and we're always evolving. And when we're not doing that, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I would find joy in, I think, would be the guitar.
So just a totally pure esoteric pleasure separate from your everyday workaday life.
Yep.
Yeah. What's the best thing that anyone has ever done for you?
So when I think about the things that people have done for me, I think the most powerful thing that anybody has done for me,
Other than your wife saying yes, of course, to your
yeah,
marriage proposal.
that's a given. I mean, I was the luckiest man in the world when she said yes, and she was
I've met your wife. I know. Absolutely.
so. Um, what I think about the greatest thing that anybody's ever done for me is comes down to something that my mother said to me, and she said to me, Justin, um, no matter what happens in life, no one can take away your education. And I think the best thing she ever did for me was imparting that belief and that knowledge in me, that when you're willing to learn and you're willing to put yourself out there and you're willing to grow, no one can take that from you. No one can take away the experience, the joy, the hurt, the anger, all those things that happen in life. That learning and being educated and having those opportunities, I think her imparting that belief in me, that's probably the best thing that's ever happened for me, was her helping me, and her taking the time to teach me how to iron clothes. Before I went to college, since I was going to be a music major, she said, you're going to have to wear a tux. You're going to have to wear this. You need to know how to press a shirt. You need to have, so my mom took the time and made sure that I knew how to iron all of the different types of clothing that I would need to iron. And my wife gets blown away. She's like, the kids will say, Mom, I need this iron. Okay, we'll talk to your dad. And they're like, what? Yeah, talk to your dad. He knows how to iron anything. That's what he's good with, an iron. And they're like, why is that? That my mom, the best thing she ever did was teaching me self-sufficiency.
Okay.
How to run an iron, how to cook, how to do those things for myself.
On your best day, what are you doing? Ironing or playing the guitar, or what are you doing on your best day?
So on my best day, I'm with my family and we're laughing and we're having a good time. My kids are at an age now, my daughter's 13, my son's 16, and my time with them at home is drawing to,
it'll be over before you know it.
Yeah. And the best day is a day spent with them, seeing them happy.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. As someone who has a son and a daughter that are more than twice the age of your children, the days that I hearken back to are the days that you are having with your children right now. Very, very precious days.
Yeah.
So this might sound like a loaded question, but given that background, if you could have an unlimited amount of something, what would it be?
Time with my kids.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yep. It would always be time with my kids.
So why higher education?
So I think higher education, and it goes back to what I was saying about my mom. We help people to grow in their human experience. We get to work with young people and with old people and with all people. We get to work with people that have a thirst for knowledge. They have a desire to better themselves. They want something more, and they want to look to us for, how do I get there? What do I not know that I need to know? You know, I can find out everything I need to know on my cell phone. It's all right here at my fingertips. Yeah. I don't need higher education, except I need help learning how to think. I need help learning what direction to go in, because this doesn't tell me how to think. It doesn't tell me what method works best. It just says a bunch of information. We provide meaning to information.
And that's why I hire ed.
I remember a kind of a graph that one of my professors had. On the bottom was information. It was kind of like a pyramid. And then stacked on top of information was knowledge. And then stacked on top of that, and even more narrow, was wisdom, or understanding. And at the very top was wisdom.
Yep.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if a 16 or 17-year-old high school student, or equally important, the mother or father of a 16 or 17-year-old were to ask you, why Wichita State? Why the School of Digital Arts? Why the BAA in Media Arts? What would you tell them?
So I regularly say, because we allow you, encourage you to dream, and we help you find a way to make that happen. People will come in here, whether it's a prospective student or someone from industry or whoever, they'll walk through this place, and Shocker Studios is amazing. You walk through and you see the things that are here and the way it's evolved since we've taken it over, and how it's grown and changed, and the things that have happened, and you take it all in. I give somebody a tour, and at the end, I'm like, do you have any questions? They're like, I said, that's okay. It's okay. So what you do now is you go away and you dream and you think and you figure out, how can I use this and make this powerful? And then you give me a call and we figure out how to make it happen. Yeah. I think that's why Wichita State, that's why School of Digital Arts, and that's why whatever industry someone's wanting to study for, that we do. That's the why, because you have the opportunity to create it, to make it, and to go after it.
I was just reading, it sounded like you're saying what I was just reading in an article about Steve Jobs having it wrong. He said you should follow your passion or pursue your passion. And this article was saying Jobs had it incorrect. You should develop your passion. Yeah. A lot of times a student doesn't even know what their passion should be. And it takes a little spark here and a little nibble there in order for them to put the pieces of the puzzle together to develop their passion.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that, that couldn't be true. I think that, and I often use myself as an example. I didn't discover my passion for the digital media arts till I was in my 40s.
Yeah.
So as a student coming right out of high school, it's okay to not know what you want to do with the rest of your life. It's okay to go out there and explore and see what do I want to develop my passion in? What do I really want to do? What's my goal? I think I want to work at Pixar. What does that really even mean? What do they do? There's this, you see an end product. People see an end product. Yeah. They don't see the process to get there, and the amount of hours and the amount of work that goes into that. And so once you start to experience that and to understand the joy and the heartache that comes from, oh, I've created this really cool character. Oh no, my rig's broken and now it won't move properly. I've got to go back to ground zero. I got to start over, but I've learned from that process. In this industry, you fail a lot in the process. And that's why we're so successful, is because we fail all the time.
Yeah. And isn't it a lot of fun?
It is. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, but it's fun at the same time. And because you get to have these dreams and these ideas, and then you try to bring it to life, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, that wasn't it. But what if we try this way?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Justin, this has been an absolute pleasure, a thrill to sit and talk with you. The secret that most people don't understand or realize is that a lot of what we've just talked about, you and I have had snippets and bits of those exact same conversations over the years. Many of them at Taste and See, many of them at some other restaurant, having lunch together or coffee in the office together or whatever. But it's nice to have all of that kind of all bundled together in this nice long conversation. I really, truly appreciate you taking the time to tell us who you are, what Shocker Studios is, what the BAA is, and what your part of the College of Fine Arts here at Wichita State is. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to do it.